Hello, my name is Mila, your Alexandrian Archives. Welcome or welcome back. I hope you enjoy your stay. So, the day that you're going to be watching this is going to be a very special day. I'm filming this in advance because heaven knows I won't be able to film, edit, and post it in time unless I do it in advance. And that's sort of how it goes around here. Or it's starting to go around here. So, today as you're watching it, it is May 31st, 2024. And I, although it is later at night, I have turned whole 22 years old. So it has been 22 goes around the sun. So I decided to do a fun video for you guys where I talk about 22 books that have made me the person that I am in terms of taste, in terms of knowledge, in terms of personality, because heaven knows I absorbed the personality of these characters like a sponge, and I did very much do that in my younger years as well. So these are not really in any particular order because I don't have them in any particular order, but yeah, I will tell you roughly the ages when these would have come into my life. I'm gonna open the window. It is so hot in here. And it's freezing outside. Apologies for the sound. There's like birds and it's like also like snowing and a little bit windy, so. Oh no, it's not snowing, it's raining, thank God. So it's a little bit of a gloomy day, but I've got lights, I've got the bookcase. I think it looks nice. I think we are onto something here. So the first book, or rather series in this case, is Percy Jackson and the Olympians. These books changed me on like a molecular level. They altered my brain chemistry, okay, to such a degree that I am getting my degree in classical studies 90% because of these books. Percy Jackson as a character changed me. Annabeth as a character changed me. Their adventures changed me. The whole of knowledge of Greek mythology and the Greek pantheon changed me as a person, and it's why I'm known as the Greek mythology nerd in my friend group. so those are the ones. This came in, I want to say, roughly 5th or 6th grade. I actually picked up the third book by accident. Well, not by accident. The first book actually wasn't in the library, I remember. I checked out the third book and I was so confused because it was referring to like past events. I'm like, what is going on? And then I saw that it said book 3, and so I went back and got book 1. But funny enough, book 3 became my favorite out of the whole series in Percy Jackson, and in Heroes of Olympus actually, the third one, The Mark of Athena, is also my favorite. So, minus the cliffhanger, literal cliffhanger, that is at the end. The next series is The Hunger Games. I reread The Hunger Games last year, and I do have a singular copy of Catching Fire. I don't have any of the others because I want to find them in this specific edition, but these are not sold on the regular. Wow, the font is huge in this. What in the world? The font is huge. Wow. Damn. Good times. I think when I was younger, I read the first book and the second book, and then I read like halfway through the third, and I was like, this is so boring. So I stopped. And then I watched all the movies, obviously, and then recently with the resurgence of The Hunger Games due to A Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, I decided I'm going to reread it as an adult, and I will link the vlog for it. That was one hell of a time. So, yeah, The Hunger Games. This, I guess, more in adult life than in childhood, opened my eyes to good writing and good world building and knowing the meaning of the word continuity, because Mr. Rick Riordan does not know the meaning of the word continuity, and he's just forgotten some things, but Suzanne Collins is a master. a continuity. I cannot remember, off the top of my head, I can't remember any plot holes or any differences, significant differences. And just Suzanne Collins hits the mark every time. So, thank you, ma'am. The next one is the Poppy War. This trilogy has such a spot in my heart. Like, I have such a soft spot for this trilogy, although it's absolutely heartbreaking. This is a military historical fantasy, or historical military fantasy, whatever it is, following a girl named Rin during a fantastical version of a fantasy version of the Opium War events, basically, I believe it's Opium War. It is bloody, it is gritty. I hate some of these characters. I also love some of these characters. I wish I could read it again for the first time. I think this series has cemented my love for history in general. I'm not the biggest fan of modern history. I just think it's super boring because a lot of the time it's like industrialization, women's rights, women's freedom, protest here, protest there. But given that we live in such a precarious time right now, it is so relevant. Like, modern history is so relevant to now that I definitely see heartbreaking parallels, and it's made me appreciate modern history more, and I wish I had paid attention more in modern history classes that I had in school. Ha ha ha. Listen, after like 10 years, Canadian history gets boring. Okay, it gets boring. However, ancient world stuff, after 15 years, does not get boring. So, take with that what you will. The next one is actually a French book that sort of altered my brain chemistry because I was like, whoa, books in French can actually be this good. It's called La Jeune Fille à la Nuit by Guillaume Musso. And I read this as an independent book choice for my French literature class in high school. And I absolutely love this. We read another one of his books in French class that I had that same semester. So I had the same teacher twice a day, which was, you can imagine how it went. It was a blast. I actually like this teacher, so it was a win-win situation. But this one is a mystery, and it had me in a chokehold. Like, I was so, like, into it. I read it in, like, several days. Like, that was the fastest I'd read a book. And the other book that we'd read in French class was L'Appel de l'Ange. That wasn't as interesting. And my problem with books, especially, like, mystery books, and books in French have this habit, too, of just, like, rushing the ending, and I just don't understand what happened. Like, I can't visualize because it's so fast. And a bunch of stuff went down in L'Appel de l'Ange, but La Jeune Fille la Nuit was the perfect pace in terms of character, in terms of plot, in terms of world building. It's set in modern times, and it's a mystery, so really there's not a lot of world building that has to be done. It's mainly focused on the characters and the plot, but man, it had me gasping at every single page. Like, I was hooked. I was on the edge of my seat. And then I remember we were supposed to go on a field trip, but it was canceled because of the weather, and the buses were coming, blah 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 blah. And we had French literature that morning, and I decided to explain it to everyone, the plot and what actually happened, because I really enjoyed it. And my teacher was like, okay, like, let's see what's going on. And the other girls were super nice about it. And they also were really shocked about the ending and about the, like, plot twist and everything. And it was a fun time. So definitely altered my brain chemistry. So, yeah. Of course, I have to mention the Odyssey, to the point I have 4 copies. If you think that's a lot, that's really not a lot. I have 4 copies of the Odyssey, and I love this story so much, to the point where I just am also obsessed with Epic the Musical, which is a musical based off the Odyssey, And I also got my sister into the musical itself, and so she knows various parts of the story, which obviously I give her the kid-friendly version because she's only 5 years old. But yeah, obviously I have to mention the Odyssey. Can't go a video without mentioning the Odyssey when it comes to favorite books or books that changed me as a person. And then we have Six of Crows. My cousin and I read this sort of side by side, in the sense that we both watched Shadow and Bone, and we were like, ooh, the crows are more interesting than the main plot line, which I feel like is a lot of the sentiment around the TV show. For those that haven't read the Grishaverse or the Shadow and Bone trilogy, I read Six of Crows. I absolutely love this. I think this is Leigh Bardugo's best work, and I don't think anything will compare. Obviously, it's not fair to compare a YA fantasy to, for example, her adult debuts and stuff like that. But I think in terms of depth and writing and characters, it's phenomenal. For a YA book, it is phenomenal. So, Six of Crows, duology. I do think I liked Crooked Kingdom more than Six of Crows, which is saying something, because duologies, usually the second book doesn't hit as well, you know? So, Six of Crows duology. The next one is The Hobbit. So, I had been avoiding The Hobbit for a long, long time. And the reason for that is in my head, I obviously linked The Hobbit to the Hobbit movies, right? And I also linked The Hobbit, by extension, to the Lord of the Rings, and Lord of the Rings movies, and Lord of the Rings, the book trilogy. Lord of the Rings, the trilogy, the books are very long, are very wordy to get through. So in my head, I was like, okay, The Hobbit is probably going to be the same. Like, it's written by the same author. Why would it not be the same? It's the same world. No, The Hobbit is a middle grade book, and I feel like people often forget that. Because when I tell people read The Hobbit, they're like, I'm not that good of a reader. I'm not that knowledgeable in fantasy. No. The Hobbit is a splash. It is a drop in the bucket when it comes to Lord of the Rings, okay? It is nothing. It is super easy to get through. It's a phenomenal story. It's super fun. It's super funny. Bilbo's a great narrator. I highly recommend the audiobook. I actually listened to it purely on audiobook. And the version that I listened to is the one with Andy Serkis narrating. And Andy Serkis narrates all the characters, and he changes his voice in such a way that you don't even know that it's one person. Like, if you listen to it and you weren't told that it's one person, you would not know. You would not be aware that it's one person. So, The Hobbit. The next one is The Maze Runner. I was very deep into the YA section in grade 6 and going into grade 7. So I was very much an early YA reader. So, which is why I feel strongly about the spice scenes on page in YA argument. So that's a whole other argument. But The Maze Runner is definitely a book, a trilogy that changed me as a person. I don't remember if I actually watched the third movie. I don't remember, actually. But anyways, point is, Maze Runner, I thought it was so fun. I thought it was great YA. It's definitely a good starting point in YA for those that want to read dystopian, because there are a lot of dystopian books, and it can be overwhelming, as it can be in a lot of genres actually nowadays, but, you know, it's to each their own. So highly recommend The Maze Runner if you hadn't read it. But yeah. And we have a series that is still going. So this is a series that I latched onto when we came to Canada, and I was 7 years old and I didn't know a word of English. The most I knew was hello and bye. So my uncle took me to the library. I got a library card, and I found the Magic Tree House books. Specifically, let me see if I can find it. It's like, it has like Blizzard. There's like, it's like the Blizzard of New York or whatever. I don't remember. Every time I try to find it, every time I talk about this book, I don't remember. Blizzard, New York. Please don't mind the yelling. Magic Tree House. Okay, so, oh my god. Please stop. Blizzard of the Blue Moon. And I remember this distinctly because it had a unicorn on it. And I was obsessed with, like, who doesn't love unicorns? You know, I'll post the cover up here. But also, it was also Merlin mission. And Merlin missions are the ones when it comes to the magician Merlin and his two assistants. And those are always the, like, really fun ones, where you have to read a consecutive amount, like one after the other, and then they sort of figure out the mystery and how to get Merlin out of, like, the problem, or how to get one of the assistants out of the problem that they walked into. So, if you have a little one who's learning to read, or, like, has started to read more comfortably and more confidently, I definitely recommend this one as a continuation point, because these are so fun. I also love the Ancient Greece one with the Olympics. That one was also a really fun one, obviously, given that I'm an Ancient Greece nerd. So yeah, that was Magic Tree House, a Blizzard of the Blue Moon, which is the number 8 in the Merlin missions. Highly recommend. The next one is, there are 2 books from the Silver Birch program. So in Canada, we have the Forest of Reading, and for grades 4 to 6, I believe, or grade 3 to 6 maybe, I don't really remember. We have a program called Silver Birch, where every year 10 books are chosen, and you read through them, and then in May, I believe, there's a festival of, like, reading, and you can meet some of the authors, and you can vote for your favorites, and blah, blah, blah. So I remember 2 of the books that I really loved was Ghosts of the Titanic and Ghost Messages. Ghosts of the Titanic propelled me into a Titanic phase. I was a Titanic girly, and I am proud to say that I was a Titanic girly. I was so into it. I also read the Gordon Corman, I think the first Gordon Corman Titanic book from, like, the trilogy or whatever, but I couldn't finish them because I had so much, like, secondhand anxiety for the characters, knowing that the ship will sink, but I don't want to find out if the characters will die. Maybe I'll do a reading vlog of, like, reading old favorites or books that I started but never finished when I was younger. Anyways, we'll see what happens. So, and Ghost Messages was one where they, like, go across the, like, the Atlantic to put down, like, a line for, like, telephones or, like, messaging or whatever, and the girl on the boat meets, like, a stowaway, but it's actually, like, a ghost. Don't quote me on that. I don't remember. But yeah, something with ghosts, something with messages, something with boats. I had a nautical phase. So, I think that says enough. The Goddess Girls books. I was obsessed with these because it was just such a simple way to get into Greek mythology and to learn about all the goddesses. I did only read the goddesses ones. I know there are, like, I think heroes ones, like Atalanta, and all that stuff. But my favorite, I think, was the first one where Athena comes into the school, and then turns out that the principal, who is Zeus, is her dad, and then there's that whole thing, and yeah, I really liked those. So yeah, I'll put them up here or here or whatever. The next one is the Shadow Thieves. This is another series that I never finished, and all I remember is that it follows 2 characters, and then their teacher, who's like pretty cool, I think, disappears, and then they're like, okay, we gotta go find him, and turns out he's Prometheus, I believe. I just remember it having Greek mythology. I remember the teacher being someone. I need to read this. I need to get into this. I need to reread this. Okay, we're doing a vlog, or attempting to do one at one point, to finally get these books out of the way. The next one I remember reading is Oh My Gods by Tara Lynn Childs. This is about a girl whose mom remarries, and she's like a runner. Like, she does track and everything, and she's really good at it. And then they move to like this island where actually the kids at the school are all like descendants of gods, and I believe she's the descendant of like, I don't remember. I want to say Nike, but I don't even remember. No, hold on. It's specifically the one by Tara Lynn Childs, not the other one that pops up. Let me see if I can find you the right one. My computer is really slow. I apologize. Yeah, so her mom returns from Greece with a new husband, and then they go to an island, and turns out that admission depends on like whether or not you have ancestry from like Zeus, Hera, and other Greek gods. And so all the teens are like descendants of the gods and stuff. Super smart, super beautiful, huge super powers. And I believe it's Nike or Hermes, maybe? I don't remember. So yeah, I don't remember who's it is. Oh, hold on. I do remember that it was really cliche, so you could like sort of guess some of the plot points and stuff, but I just remember it being so much fun. I do think I read the second book, but honestly, the cover when I read it was a little bit embarrassing. I think I read it on my like e-reader at the time. I don't remember, but maybe I'll also reread this one. Who knows? We'll see. The next one is a book I found at the dollar store for $3, and I bought it because there was someone in a really pretty green dress with a bow and arrow. And I am such a cover buy person. It's kind of crazy, and if there's someone with a bow and arrow on the cover, I will get the book, even if I don't know anything about the book itself, or that I then find out that it's part of a trilogy. What? So the book in question is Mortal Heart by Robin Lefevre. I don't know how to say her last name. I apologize. And this one is part of a trilogy called His Fair Assassins. I actually did end up reading the first two books, so this is the third book. But when I read it, I wasn't too confused. I feel like they're very self-contained because they follow three different characters in their respective books. And I thought it was so good. Oh my god, I read it so many times, and it was so good. The plot twist got me. I did, as I said, read the first and second book, but I think the third one has just such a special place in my heart. Oh my god, I just remember loving it so much. I was like, wow, this is such a good cover buy. So, yeah. Oh boy. The next one is also another one that was sort of a cover buy. I believe it was also from the dollar store for like $3-4. And it's called No Good Deed. I don't remember. Cara O'Connelly, I believe, is the author, if I'm not mistaken. I'll put the cover up. But basically, this is like a Robin Hood retelling where this girl is like in England, I believe, or yeah, I believe she's in England, and she goes to like these ruins or whatever, and then she actually time travels to the time of Robin Hood, but there is no Robin Hood, so she becomes Robin Hood, and then there's a twist at the end, and I'm just like, oh my god, I need the next book. But I don't think there was a second book, which is unfortunate because I need to see how it played out. But I just hope that the author knows that I'm waiting for a second book. Please, I beg you, if there's one fan left in the world, that is me. If there is 0 fans left in the world, I am dead. And the next one is more of an adulthood book that sort of altered my life, I guess. The Picture of Dorian Gray. I had been seeing it everywhere. I was like, okay, classics intimidate me as a general sort of thing. I'm not intimidated by the Odyssey or the Iliad because I study it and stuff, or Roman writers, Cicero, Plato, all those people. But classics, as in stuff we're supposed to read for school and stuff that English literature majors most likely read as well, intimidate me. And The Picture of Dorian Gray, I had heard nothing but good things about it, and I was like, you know what, screw it. So when we were at Indigo at one point, I bought a copy of The Picture of Dorian Gray because it was like one of those buy 2 for like $5 each or whatever, I don't remember. And I read it, and I annotated it, and I loved it. I thought it was really, really good. So yeah, the next one is one I don't really talk about a lot, but I figured that since it's my birthday and we're talking about books that have changed me, Order of the Phoenix, the 5th Harry Potter book. I like this book mainly because of all the Dumbledore's army scenes, and it really delved deeper into the world building and the magic system. And also, it ended up being like the longest book on my shelves out of the Harry Potter series, so I just kept on rereading and rereading and rereading, and yeah, fun times. So that's Order of the Phoenix. The next one is Words of Radiance by Brandon Sanderson. Why do I say Words of Radiance and not The Way of Kings? Because Words of Radiance is so good. It was mind-blowingly good. Maybe one day I will post the vlog for it. Who knows? Maybe I will post a vlog for it. I hope I do one day find all the videos for it and post the vlog. Who knows? Maybe you'll get it one day. I think it ended up being like 2 hours, maybe raw footage, and my computer is not going to be able to handle that. So we're going to have to go downstairs to get all of it done. So yeah, Words of Radiance, I thought it was fantastic. I think it's Brandon Sanderson's best book out of all the ones that I've read, which is a total of like 4.5, I want to say. Because I'd only read The Way of Kings and Words of Radiance and half of Oathbringer, which is where the half comes in, and Mistborn, the first book and the second book. So, highly recommend, although it is clunky, it is big, it is a chunker. So, only read if you have time to give energy to it. And the next one is one my mom reminded me of, which was The Lunar Chronicles. And man, I love these books. I think my favorite one was the Rapunzel one, I believe. And I followed this book to a T. I followed the series to a T. I remember I only had Winter, which was the Snow White retelling. And man, maybe I should also reread these. I know there's a bit of controversy around these books, but I figured that we're just gonna ignore those controversies for a second, just talk about the books that made me me. So, Lunar Chronicles, yeah, I remember reading them and really enjoying them. The next one is Divergent. As I said, I was a YA girly through and through, and I did read Divergent, Insurgent, and Allegiant. I think Veronica Roth had it in the bag, and then the bag ended up having a hole in it, so everything spilled out. I don't know if that makes sense, but it was such a good series. It was so good. And then she had to come in with the point of view of freaking 4. I don't want to read about this horny person. Shut up. And I don't know. I didn't like Allegiant. Insurgent was really, really slow and really, really boring, but second books most often are. Except Catching Fire. Last book I have is the big mythology book that one would get when your parents want to introduce you to mythology. This, I think, sort of, along with Percy Jackson, kickstarted my journey into becoming a mythology nerd. So, thank you to, I think it might have been my aunt that bought it for me. But I still have it. I have the big version and I have the smaller version. I have lost quite a lot of, like, the pieces, the little bits and pieces of certain parts of it, but still cool to have sort of a memento, sort of thing, from the past and sort of look back on it. So that is it for this video. I hope you enjoyed. Again, this is 22 books for 22, and when you're watching this, I have turned 22. That sounds too mature. That sounds more mature than I would like it to be. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. Like, comment, subscribe. Let me know your thoughts down below. If any of these overlap with the books that have changed your brain chemistry, simply put. And I will see you in the next one. Happy reading, and happy birthday to me. And happy birthday to me. Happy reading.